Misadventures of an Ignoble Wannabe King. Welcome to Law and Society. Please subscribe and let's talk about the state of our republic. I come to you almost every day now not because there are new developments. Yeah, there are new developments that I've talked about before that require to be revisited. But there are also new things that I think about as we move through this period in our history. How has our society changed? How is it possible that we pay so little attention to integrity, to the truth, to the traditions of following science and following teachings, learning from history, and how we just, we don't learn from them, and how we tend to repeat history. And that happens because there are forces that would like to draw power and wealth to themselves at the cost of the benefit of others. So it is socially destructive. For example, Donald Trump campaigned on lowering the cost of living. He would complain about egg prices. He would complain about every single inflationary ticket that would come out. And you know what the truth of the matter is now? The dozen eggs that cost $5 some cents during Biden's presidency, that's the highest it got, is now in a national average of over $8 a dozen. And what is Donald Trump's answer? Shut up about eggs. He reposted a video talking, I think Charlie Kirk or somebody, who said, shut up about the eggs. And in my mind, it was like, I thought that the cost of living was the central premise of his, campaign. That everything costs too much now. And we can't afford it. And we're going in the wrong direction. Okay, if you do follow that logic, then you should not be talking about the fact that your policies that you think and believed would improve the standard of living and lower the cost of living. Now you're saying 6 weeks or 2 months into your presidency that there will be disturbances and disruptions because of the immigration stance you have taken that is going to choke how our food production is managed, with the tariffs that you keep bringing up and dangling over other countries and keeping them on China, and now thinking about tariffs on other countries as well, playing this game with Mexico and Canada with tariffs. How is that's what's causing these disturbances and disruptions, and the layoffs in the federal workforce that impacts the larger DC area, has many states, many businesses, and these are hundreds of thousands of workers that have families, and so it goes up to millions of people who are impacted by these layoffs that Doge and Elon Musk are illegally cutting from our government. Mike Johnson keeps on saying that he's going to codify it, but he has no plans of it yet. Maybe he's still in the concept stages like his boss. And then if there are social security cuts, people are not going to have money. People who need it most, who have worked all their lives with the comfort of knowing that they're going to have something saved so they can live out their life in relative peace, if Social Security is cut, it's just going to cut the bottom out of our economy. And are we going to see a recession? Donald Trump now thinks there will be disturbances and disruptions. He's not going to answer with a yes, but we're seeing the stock market nosedive every day. We're seeing unemployment numbers go up, and we're seeing job availability go down. New jobs are not being created. We're seeing a downward trend in everything in the market. Commodities are going in a downward trend where now our steel is going to cost more to the consumer because of tariffs. And the food is going to cost more because it is not as available because there aren't enough people to work the farmland and work the farms all around the United States. Because these impulsive decisions on immigration, tariffs, on layoffs and cuts, they have fallout. And even if it is cured in a day, in a week, in a month, like we're seeing, the frozen funds for the U.S. aid, which the Supreme Court is set to release, and the deadline is Monday, put by District Judge Ali, has not been released. And I wouldn't be surprised if Donald goes and appeals that, and the Supreme Court has to reissue the ruling. And then what happens if Donald Trump doesn't comply with the order? You might think it's hyperbole, but at least once a day, I think about what would happen if Donald Trump decided to not comply with the order. What are the other options that the Supreme Court has? It doesn't have its own enforcement mechanism. Congress may have some, it's limited. Would we have to go to the states to ask for state resources? How does that work in terms of the jurisdictional conflict? There are so many questions that sort of go through my head as I'm thinking about what's happening in our society and the fact that we are headed down towards a recession. And that is not what Donald Trump promised. He promised lowering the cost of living. And he has not delivered. Not only he has not delivered, he now says shut up about it. Then we have the threat of the measles outbreak that has now gone from Texas and New Mexico all the way to Maryland and has exposed people in Dulles International Airport. Like that's the Washington airport or Dulles Airport. I mean, God knows how many people would be exposed to measles because of the fact that where's the CDC? Where is the Health and Human Services Secretary going out and telling people to get the vaccine? Instead, RFK Jr. is talking about vitamin A and cod liver oil to save you from measles, which is absolutely absurd. It's something that you scratch your head and you think this is happening before our eyes. 2 people have died from a preventable disease. One of them is a child. I don't know about the other one being a child or not. But 2 lives have been lost because of this preventable virus that was apparently ended in American society decades ago. So we have this societal chaos that's starting. And, we always have we have to keep dealing with the betrayal of Ukraine. The aid is still frozen. And Elon Musk is threatening Ukraine with pulling Starlink, which is the internet through which Ukraine is basing its coordination. And, somebody, a high official in Poland, posted on X about if Starlink doesn't want to honor the contract it has with Poland of 50 million euros a year to provide these services, then Europe will have to look for another provider. And Europe has internet providers that they can use. They may not be as good as Starlink, but they are there. They're available. And there's this fight going on between Elon Musk and this official of Poland where Elon Musk is ridiculing, this person and talking about how Starlink can stop all communication in Ukraine just by if Elon Musk wanted to, which is, we already went low with that White House meeting where J.D. Vance instigated and triggered a bullying session of Zelensky. Now with this and the frozen funds, I would really recommend Ukrainians to seriously consider saying big fuck you to Donald Trump and American help and working with the Europeans to make an efficient and effective weapon machine, a defense machine to shield all of Europe. Because even the far right Prime Minister of Italy, I think her last name is Meloni, has offered and said that we should provide Ukraine with NATO's protection, even if they're not part of NATO, of EU protection, even if they're not part of EU. And on the other side, we're hearing that Donald Trump wants to not fulfill our treaty obligations under NATO. Because we know that Donald Trump cannot unilaterally withdraw from NATO. He either needs 2/3 of the Senate or an act of Congress to do that. So he's just going to grind enforcement to a halt, which I hope NATO countries sue the American government in American courts based on this treaty and breach of this treaty, and forces the American government to pay its fair share into NATO. And then if it doesn't want to be part of the intelligence, if it doesn't want to be part of any of the missions, that's fine. But you have to fulfill your treaty obligations. And should NATO country invoke Article 5, you have to go to their aid. And we have to help them. So, and I say this and I come out and talk to you every day because we live in a society of laws. We are a society of laws. Without the rule of law, there wouldn't be a community. And the law is a culmination of the people coming together, electing representatives, giving them what their mandates are, and then sending them to Washington to legislate. And when we legislate, that becomes the law of the land that has come from the will of the people. So we talk about the rule of law. We live in order for us to live in a safe society, in safe communities, to have a lower cost of living, to have faith in our police systems, to have job security, to have affordable health care, and upward mobility in your communities, then you have a progressive society. And in America, which is home to the richest people in the history of the world right now, it is incumbent upon Congress to tax the rich to be able to make up for the deficits that we have. Instead of cutting taxes on the rich and cutting the essential services of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid that are keeping so many people afloat and our country going, instead of cutting those, why don't you raise taxes on the rich so they pay their fair share? It's not like they're paying their fair share and we're asking them to pay less. Every year, billionaires and multimillionaires and multi-billionaires make more money in an hour than anybody can dream of in a lifetime, and they pay an effective tax rate that is lower than what teachers pay, or what clinicians pay, or what people doing middle class jobs pay? Come on, even people paying teacher jobs pay more tax percentage-wise than billionaires do. So why is it unfair to ask them for putting into the society that has given them the chance to flourish the same opportunity for future generations? Why wouldn't they do that? If there's no law, there's no society. We have lived in a country of law for 200 years, over 200, nearing 250 years, and we have turned from the importance of government, the importance of civic engagement, the importance of community, even though it is available even in the online world. We often give ourselves the excuse of being isolated because we're involved in the online world. Well, we are also interacting with people in the online world. So we can use that platform to push back. We can use that platform to reach out. And we should. We should be able to bring community together. We should be able to say that this is our government and not government of oligarchs. We have to come to a place where we are not so impulsive that we go back and forth between, Bernie Sanders' great idea and what we have now. The real populist movement that Bernie Sanders and AOC champion versus the fake veneer populism that we have now, which is actually an autocratic republic. It is an autocratic, oligarchic republic. So we are not a constitutional republic. We're not a rule of law republic if we don't assert ourselves, if we don't talk to each other and warn one another about what is happening in society, and also talk about the things that we need, the securities that we need in society, and holding our elected officials and our leaders accountable for not making that available to us and instead giving money to people who don't need it, to the ultra rich, while taking away from the most destitute. That is evil, and that is not American. And we need to talk about it. And Bernie Sanders is going around and talking about it all over the country. He has already said that he doesn't want to be in running for president. So I believe that he's riling people up. He's energizing Americans behind the truth and the true economic populism that Americans want. And in this rally of Bernie and Bernie, the understanding of a real populist society that focuses on economic populism, on equity, on a level playing field for everybody, that is something that we had at some point in our society, and something that caused the middle class to grow. And that was the New Deal by FDR. And then now we see an autocratic oligarchy where it is not the government of the people. It is the government of Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and the oligarchs. And our country simply cannot afford it. So we should push back at every point that we can think of, whenever we can think of, however we can think of. We cannot afford to be scared. Now is the time to speak up. With that said, thank you so much for listening. Please like and subscribe and share, and I'll talk to you soon.